Present.
Vice Chair Khan.
Present.
Chair Hook.
Present. You can all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving to item 3, presentations. 3.1, our monthly police department update.
Good evening, Commissioners, City staff, and public. The statistics from September 27 to October 25th, there were 2,512 calls for service, 52 reports of traffic collisions, 1 was a major injury and 4 minor injury or complaints of pain, 418 citations issued, 333 parking violations, and 18 vehicle burglaries, 2 which occurred in the Hamner and Limonite Shopping Center area. I'd like to update the Commission on 4 areas of concern for residents of Eastvale. 1 is vehicle parking. I receive approximately 10 complaints every week reference vehicles parked on residential streets, usually parked more than 3 days. I do send an officer out for each complaint to investigate. We either cite the vehicle, tow the vehicle if the tags are expired over 6 months, or tag the vehicle for 72 hours and come back 3 days later. So we address every concern, reference parking. And we have been receiving complaints reference commercial vehicle parking in the residential area. And we are addressing those concerns also, and we are citing for the city ordinance when applicable. Another concern is the mail thefts that have been occurring. Since the last meeting, our Eastville SET team and the surrounding agencies have made several more arrests, and we are working with the post office investigating these thefts and prosecuting the suspects for mail theft. I'd like to remind the residents of Eastville to empty their mailboxes on a daily basis and report any suspicious vehicles around any of the mailboxes. Another concern is vehicle burglaries and thefts from vehicles. Our officers and SET team are working with our crime analyst. What she does is she puts into the computer every location where a vehicle theft or burglary has occurred to figure out when the best times for our officers to go out there and look for these suspects, the best time of the week and time frame. And they do have several special operations coming up that are secret, I won't tell you, but they are planning several operations to work on catching these suspects and reducing the amount of vehicle thefts and burglaries. Another hot topic is traffic concerns around our schools. Our 3 traffic officers do rotate to every school. They try to be there in the morning when kids are being dropped off and being picked up. They rotate from each of our 8 schools to do the enforcement, and we still are receiving complaints from concerned residents reference to speeding in and around the schools. The Amazon Fulfillment Center on October 4th, CAL FIRE and the City of Eastville Police Department met with the management to discuss operating procedures to assist police and fire and responding to emergency and non-emergency situations. And we'll be having more meetings in the future. And that's all I have. Any questions? Concerns?
No, but I do appreciate the printout. It makes it a lot easier than chicken scratching everything down. Thank you.
Thank Michelle for that. She's making the copies.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 3.2, our monthly fire department update.
Good evening, Chairperson Hook and Commissioners. Our Battalion Chief, Justin Scribner, was not able to make the meeting today. He was out on some training and then a vacation. So he will not be joining us this evening.
Okay, thank you. 3.3, new employee introductions.
Good evening, Honorable Chair and Commissioners. It's with great pleasure that I am able to introduce to you this evening two new staff positions, two new staff members. These are not new positions, but these were vacant positions at City Hall that have now been filled. So with that, I would like to introduce you to Stephen Aguilar. He's our city clerk. And we also have Aaliyah Rodriguez. She will be our senior administrative analyst. And I'd like to give you a little bit of background. Both individuals come to the city of Eastvale with some fantastic recommendations, outstanding work experience, and honestly, I'm very excited to have them part of the Eastvale team, and I think they're really going to help take us to the next level. So Stephen Aguilar has been a Eastvale resident since 2008. He began his career in local government with the city of Corona as a management services intern in the city manager's office, where he was responsible for overseeing the city's successful military banner program and Healthy Corona initiative. Soon after his time with Corona, he went to work for the city of Eastvale as an office assistant, where he was involved in numerous projects, including the city's military banner program and Scholar Way banner programs, business license program, and front counter assistance. Stephen went to work for the Monster Energy Company as a human resource administrator, where he continued to maintain ties to the municipalities he once worked for. We were very sad to see him go when he left us the first time, so we're really happy that he's back. Stephen is joining the Eastvale team from the Orange County Fire Authority, where he was a deputy clerk 2 since August 2014. As the deputy clerk 2, he assisted with the OCFA's 25 board of directors, including agenda processing, transcribing minutes, records management, and compliance with the Political Reform Act. He is locally educated, graduating from a small private school in Corona, earned his associate degree in social and behavioral studies from Norco College, and recently completed his bachelor's degree in public administration from California Baptist University. In his spare time, Stephen is involved with his local church in Corona, enjoys vacationing in the High Sierras, and is looking forward to beginning his graduate program in 2017. Thanks to his time working in local government, Stephen has an integral understanding of the issues facing California municipalities in the future and is sure to be a great addition for the city of Eastvale. So we're very honored to have him back. I also want to introduce you again to Aaliyah. Aaliyah Rodriguez started her career as a 911 dispatcher for CAL FIRE Riverside County Fire Department, where she proudly served for 7 years as a senior public safety communications officer. She then accepted a position with Riverside County Fire Department Office of Emergency Services as an emergency services coordinator, supporting the Northwest cities' jurisdictions in their emergency management programs. So Aaliyah has actually been to City Hall in that capacity many, many years ago to give us some tabletop training and other CERT programs. Most recently, Aaliyah served the city of Moreno Valley as an emergency management program manager, being tasked with ensuring the city was in a constant state of readiness to respond and recover from a natural or man-made disaster. She received her Bachelor of Arts in Psychology and a Bachelor of Arts in Human Development from California State University, San Bernardino. She has completed her master's degree in public administration from California Baptist University in 2011 and is currently a first-year student in the doctoral program for public administration, which is the DPA program at California Baptist University. Aaliyah has been married for 9 years, and she lives in Riverside with her husband and 2 daughters. And so with that, please join me in giving them a warm welcome to the Eastvale team. Would either of you like to say a few words?
I just want to say I'm very glad to be back and joining the Eastvale team. My roots are grounded here in the city, and I'm very pleased and honored to once again be working for the commission as well as the council, and and hope to bring the city to a new level. So thank you.
Echoing everything Stephen said, I'm very appreciative that I was selected by Michelle to be her senior administrative analyst. I look forward to all the tasks and challenges in serving the city of Eastville.
Great, thank you and welcome.
Good to have you.
Moving on to item 4, consent calendar. Anybody have any items they wish to pull? No? Can we have a motion?
Motion to accept and approve.
Item 4 as a whole. I'll second.
Will vote, please?
Commissioner Costa?
Aye.
Commissioner Flores?
Aye.
Commissioner Perillo?
Aye.
Vice Chair Khan?
Aye.
Chair Hood?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Commissioner, Chairperson Hook, excuse the interruption. We have a PowerPoint presentation that goes with the Fire Station 31 update. So there was a small error on the agenda. This should have gone not on a consent calendar item, but on a business item for just a presentation. So if you don't mind, we'd like to give you the most recent status update on the Fire Station 31.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chair Hook and members of the Commission. I'm Craig Bradshaw, the supervising engineer. Fire station, really, if you've been looking at it, you've probably seen most of the progress without going through a lot of detail. Let's see if I can make this work. We issued the notice to proceed clear back at the beginning of 2016, and there's been pretty regular progress. Edison recently relocated their poles on Selby Street. They moved them back so they'd be behind the new curb and gutter. And we recently awarded the street work contract to Hillcrest Construction out of Corona. They'll be finishing to the center line, Selby Street, and curb and gutter and sidewalk, and also the curb and gutter and sidewalk on Chandler itself. Pretty much all the walls have been installed, all the grading is completed, all the framing and so forth has been completed. Driving surfaces are completed. The finishing of the interior is underway. We meet regularly every 2 weeks to talk and resolve problems. Whenever an issue comes up, a request for information is sent to the architect, and decisions are made to document any changes to the existing plans. And there's been regular progress with utility companies. Pretty much all the utilities are installed at this time. We're getting near completion, and just to show you some pictures, this is the south elevation. It's pretty much complete. We're lacking the drought-tolerant landscaping that will be installed in probably about a month and a half. This is the west elevation. What you see right there, let's see if this pointer works, is actually going to be the entrance. I guess I'm not sure how to use this. Anyway, the entrance is right where you see the concrete pad going in here that's closest to you. That'll be the entrance for the public. This is the north elevation, and you can see the carport where the cars can drive underneath on the left that was installed recently. This is the interior. This is looking from the north side, looking through the hallway, and also one of the restrooms and shower areas that have recently been tiled. All the fixtures and cabinets for the kitchen and so forth have yet to be installed. I like this photo. This is on the inside looking north. You've got the red doors and the back and the exhaust apparatus for removing the exhaust from the equipment. And this is our storm drain line that's being installed that ties into the county's channel there at just the north end of the property for the fire department. And really, any questions, we'd be glad to answer them. That's it.
So the front entrance is facing Selby.
It's addressed off Selby. Yeah, yes, the front entrance is off of Selby.
Public entrance will be
And
off
it's
Selby.
actually it'd be the southwest corner. That's correct.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Oh, I should add that as far as timeline goes, we expect to issue a punch list in December, and they'll finish up the minor items in January. We're anticipating be move-in ready February and looking for a grand opening in March.
Great, thank you again.
Sure.
Moving on to Section 5, our business items. 5.1, rejection of all bids for radar speed sign installation project.
This is really informational. We rejected bids for this project at the last city council meeting. We had originally bid out these radar speed signs without them being school specific, and so they didn't have the yellow school and the yellow around the your speed. Looks like this doesn't have the latest and greatest one. Where it says when flashing, that actually gets removed, and it will say when children are present. The beacons will actually flash during the pickup and drop-off period when we have children actually walking to school, and it's programmable for the whole year, so we can account for minimum days and so forth. These will be located at 10 different locations around the schools, and then when there's 2 locations that they're non-school specific in the city also. And this is just a location of where the signs are going to be going. We are currently getting ready to go back out to bid, and so this item we expect to award the meeting in December. There's one meeting in December. This will be awarded. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Yes.
Are the amber beacons timer controlled or manually controlled?
They're timer controlled. We can program it up to a year in advance so that they'll flash during just around the start of the school and the end of school pickup. And we'll have to look at those windows. It may be an hour long or maybe greater depending on the number of schools that are involved.
Thank you.
And all of the bids were merely rejected because the signage needed to be changed?
That's correct. The signage required changing, and we also required a few more metal poles for the mounting of the radar speed signs.
Thank you.
Chairperson Hook and Commission, if I could add, this is kind of my fault because I had a vision in my mind of what we were looking for. This is part of the Beyond grant, and we were trying to tie it to Safe Routes to School. So this was really meant to be a school-focused initiative, and so the signs were being placed as you approach a school zone. So when I saw the bids come in and realized that there had been kind of a miscommunication on what the intent was of the signs, we consulted the city attorney's office, and so rejecting the bids was the only means to rebid and make sure that we were getting the signs that we've been discussing with you for months, because for months I've been discussing signage that had flashing beacons, that was warning people that they're entering a school zone. And so I really didn't want to move forward with signs that were less than what had been represented to the commission or to the council.
So what is the timeline as far as when are the bids due? When is it going to be put up, reposted for bids? When is the bids going to be closed?
The bids are going out tomorrow. The package is ready, and they will bid for 3 weeks, and we'll open bids. The next meeting is December, I can't even recall now, is 9th or something like that. There's one meeting in December.
Correct. There's only one council meeting in the month of November and one in December. Based on the timing of the RFP and the bid opening and review, we don't anticipate this going to city council until December.
Yeah, that's correct.
Is there a time frame on the grant funds that they need to be used by, or are we still in accordance with that with the delay?
Yes, sir. That's a great question. We are still within the time frame. June, late June, end of June is the cutoff date for WRCOG for reimbursement submittal.
Okay. Any questions? No? Thank you. Item 5.2, the amended budget for the fiscal year 16-17, including funding for school crossing guards at 3 locations.
Lost my item. The city's had several requests around Clara Barton and Ronald Reagan for additional crossing guards. To help you understand the criteria, for crossing guards, there has to be a minimum of 350 vehicles traveling across the crosswalk during each of any 2 hours. And they don't have to be consecutive. And there has to be a minimum of 40 pedestrians crossing the crosswalk during the day. And this is spelled out in the Manual for Uniform Traffic Control Devices. And we looked, I believe, 8 different locations, and we discovered that 3 locations meet at this time. The first location is Walnut Grove at Eastville Parkway, next to Clara Barton. And then the other 2 locations were Fieldwater, I can't even read, and Cherry Creek North. That location also met at Ronald Reagan, and then there's a location number 3, Fieldmaster at Fall Creek Drive. And this item went to City Council at their last meeting, and it was approved, a budget adjustment to fund 3 crossing guards. The school district, we have an agreement with the school district that they will fund half of the cost, and the school district's responsible for actually training the crossing guards and placing them. And I'd be glad to answer any questions.
What other locations were considered for crossing guards?
Just about every intersection was studied around Clara Barton and Ronald Reagan, and we've looked at counts on numerous occasions, and these 3 locations met this year.
Is Hamner one of the ones that will be in future consideration? Because that was one of the areas that principals of both Ramirez and this school expressed as an item.
At Hamner and 65th?
Yeah.
Hamner and 65th, I believe we revisited that, and the volumes were actually down due to the change in school boundaries, so that did not meet.
Okay.
Well, let me clarify. Commissioner Khan, which one are you talking about, the Hamner and which one?
Actually,
There is no school in...
I should say Whispering.
Harrison?
Oh, you're talking about Harrison.
Harrison?
Yeah.
Harrison, thank you.
Harrison and Whispering
Harrison
Hills.
and
Yeah, we studied that a few years ago in the Mid-Warrens. But what we did is we added no right turn on red on all intersections and at locations. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Offhand, is there any statistics on Whispering Hills intersection right here and possibly over by River Heights on Orange and Scholar versus the Reagan or Clara Barton that would, show how much of a difference there was, that what required it and what doesn't?
We haven't studied that area. We studied that because of the requests of the parents and the school. And Whispering Hills and Harrison, which is right here, has been some issue in the past year or 2. And we studied that, did not meet Warren, but we did add, like I mentioned earlier, but on right turn on red. And ever since that, we haven't had any complaints or issues. The traffic has been going pretty good, and we've been working with the school, with the sheriff department, to continue to monitor the locations, so just in case if there is anything that we need to add.
And there has been a study near Eastvale and River Heights, right there on Orange and Scholar, or not yet?
Yeah.
River Heights. Oh, you're talking about on
Orange
Scholar.
Street and Scholar Way,
Scholar
right there
and
in between
Orange.
Eastvale Elementary and River Heights?
I believe there was some studied, or maybe there's some.
Has there been one conducted there yet?
Well, if I could add, there is a crossing guard at Orange, and it's on Orange as you enter the Eastvale Eastvale Elementary School parking lot.
Okay.
There's an elderly gentleman that's been there for many years. As far as the intersection of Scholar Way and Orange, that is certainly something that we can revisit. With Ronald Reagan and Clara Barton, you had Clara Barton going to a year-round system, so it's no longer part of the track system. It's the only elementary school in Eastvale that went to the traditional modified or traditional school year. And with that, you now have a different student volume. because you have all the students on campus at the same time, not tracking on and tracking off. So that's one of the reasons that Clara Barton went from, not needing crossing guards to now needing 2. So you have a significant increase in the student volume. And then also Ronald Reagan, it's their second year now of being open. And there has been, I want to say about 6 different studies at Ronald Reagan Elementary from the time that it opened its doors to present. When we initiate those studies, we look at all the intersections, not just one specific corner. So Ronald Reagan Elementary School, as its second year of being opening, you have a difference in the volume. You also have a lot of students that have shifted around because of Clara Barton going to a traditional school year. So a lot of people wanted to stay, so many of them moved over to Ronald Reagan. So we have some differences in the student population. The city staff did work directly with Corona Norco Unified School District administrators and the principals to make sure that we didn't choose a day where it was a minimum day. We didn't choose a day where they had some kind of teacher in service and a lot of people wouldn't be present. So we worked with the principals to make sure that we chose an optimal day to conduct the studies. But if the commission chooses, we can certainly go back and look at Orange and Scholar. But you do have a controlled intersection there with a traffic signal, and you already have a crossing guard less than 100 feet away from the intersection.
If I may jump ahead to our Section 8 real quick, and the reason I brought that up is I did reach out to River Heights and Roosevelt and Eastvale Elementary in regards to safety concerns, what they had. And River Heights and Eastvale Elementary were concerned with the traffic from Orange and Scholar and Schleisman and Scholar. They said, there's a lot of close calls, and I thought, well, let me park. And I actually parked several mornings down the end of Riverboat and walked over there. And there's a lot of pushing time limits between students crossing and vehicles pushing that. So that was something that, I was wondering how long has it been since we've studied those intersections, and does it possibly warrant it now, to maybe revisit it?
Certainly, I don't have the exact date of those studies in front of me, but we can look into that and engage the principals to see if they feel that, along with the commission, that there's a necessity to revisit the volumes and do another study at Schleisman and Scholar, as well as Orange and Scholar. There is a crossing guard a little bit further down at Scholar, and it starts with a B. The street name starts with a B. Baltimore, thank you. Scholar in Baltimore has a crossing guard. I have also received some complaints regarding Orange. There seems to be some issues with the folks coming out of Eastvale Elementary's parking lot and trying to make a left turn out. So and that is something that Public Works staff will be working with the district and the Sheriff's Department to take a look at, to see if there's some way to improve the ingress and egress into the parking lot.
Thank you.
I have a question. What is the vetting process to choose the crossing guard? Is it a collaboration between the city and the school, or does the school do it? Or
No, sir. The school district is the one that contracts with the crossing guards, so it is completely, we pay our share, and they are the ones that hold the contract with the crossing guard company, and they take care of all the training and everything else. We have no skin in the selection process.
okay, thank you.
But they've always done a very good job of selecting good guards for our area.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Chairman Hook, if I may add just one more item. We just recently improved the area of Scholar Way around the 3 schools. The challenge for us is that the crossing guard study is usually for the elementary school age students. Now when you have a mix of the people walking, we don't know their age, and it's going to be adding the complications. But what we added the information is that just recently we added delineators. We glued down all the way to almost Citrus, because people coming down, going northbound, they cut cross, even though there's no crossings, they cut cross to go to the driveway, and then they're trying to sneak in there. So we added all the glue downs, and actually Mr. Gibbons himself, he did the glue downs there. And also we have painted red on all the curbs on the west side of Scholar Way, because we have about 2,800 feet of curb from Sliceman all the way to Citrus, and about 2,200 were all painted red, but a little portion by the high school, there is no paint there. We put there no stopping, no parking, there is no red curb, and people are still parking over there. So we just painted the whole thing, and City Manager Nissen reported it to us, and we painted the whole thing red. We yanked out all the signs. No more arguments for them. So the Sheriff Department can cite them just in case people still parking over there. So those are the improvements we just made recently.
Thank you.
There was some conflicting, in my opinion, some conflicting messaging going on right there at Scholar Way in front of Eleanor Roosevelt, because you had a sign, you had a sign that said no parking at any time, and you had a very short red curb section, and the sign of no parking at any time happened to be where that section of red was. And so the parents were pulling just past the red where there was no curb markings, and pulling over there where it is not 2 lanes wide. It's, there was not enough width in the road for cars to pass. So then you had, stacking occurring all the way from Citrus back to Mustang, and people honking, and then people trying to pull away from the curb and cut across all the way to the left to make the left turn signal onto Citrus. And so it's been messy, and we watched it, and collectively, again, Public Works and the Sheriff's Department and school district administrators decided that would be the appropriate course of action. I want to point out that we do not unilaterally make these decisions without talking to our partners first. Because sometimes you try to fix one thing in one area and you end up creating another problem somewhere else. So we really spend a significant amount of time working with the school district, the principals, the Sheriff's Department, and Public Works staff to together make a decision and not unilaterally decide something.
Just have one question. Once a warrant has been met and a decision has been made to install a crossing guard, does the MUTCD provide for a mechanism where it's checked to ensure that it's still needed after a certain amount of time?
Well, actually, no, but we have to periodically review the situations. And as a matter of fact, one location right now is like 65th and Oakdale. Again, like City Manager Nissen earlier said, that there is some redistricting or the boundaries of the schools. And that particular location, the kids goes to Harada School, but now because of the rezoning, a lot of people goes to different schools. Mm-hmm. The volume in that location, 65th and Oakdale, have been reduced. So we are currently in collaboration again with the school district reviewing that, and we're gonna do the calculation again, the counting of the vehicles and pedestrian traffic to see if it's still warranted to have the crossing guards over there. And the challenge for us is that if we have the crossing guard for many years there, now suddenly we remove that may have some resistance from the public, so we have to be really cognizant of this process and be careful with before we remove the crossing guards. But to answer your questions, Commissioner, we don't have anything in MUTCD saying that you have to every year review that. We just have to do it on our own.
Thank you.
All good. Moving on to item 5.3, code enforcement staff augmentation.
Good evening, Commissioners. This item is truly more of a receive and file, just to give you an update of some council action. This is in relation to the complaints related to maternity homes. So at the September 28th City Council meeting, the City Council directed staff to bring forth a proposal for temporary part-time contract services and code enforcement to offer supplemental assistance in code enforcement. Investigating maternity homes is very labor intensive. It takes a significant amount of time to build a case file. We are not there to enforce immigration. We're not there to check passports. This is not within our purview. It's not within our authority. But there's a significant number of complaints that have been coming in a concentrated area of Eastville that required a allocation of staff resources, and I did not want the code enforcement services for the rest of the city to suffer as we allocated our resources in one area. So council did vote unanimously to bring in temporary part-time services to help out in code enforcement. And I'm proud to say we really hit the jackpot with the gentleman that is joining us on 2 days a week on Mondays, all day, Monday and Tuesday. His name is Andy Shuck. He has advanced certification in code enforcement. He's got hazmat training. He has NMPDES training, so he can do stormwater compliance. He's does inspections for building code violations, so he has many of the certifications. He's not a full-fledged building official, chief building official, but he has many of the certifications in building. And many years of experience. This was an urgency item, and it was sole sourced, so it did not go out for an RFP. That's actually a very difficult service to find for a contract position for code enforcement. It is something that the county offered, but they obviously with the county do require that you pick up the fully burdened rate of the staff person, which made it extremely expensive because now you're paying for their vacation, their overtime, their benefits, etc. So with this position, there are no ties to that. It is not a fully burdened rate. If we decide tomorrow we don't need this person anymore, they're gone. But it has already been immensely beneficial. His experience and his enthusiasm for code enforcement has made a significant difference in the short time that he's been with us. As far as the maternity homes go, we have conducted numerous investigations. In one day alone, we did what's called a knock and talk on 14 different homes. We have a Mandarin interpreter that is working with us. And these are ongoing investigations, so I really can't disclose all the details. But we are making progress, and we have had the opportunity to meet with residents in one of the neighborhoods where there's a concentration of these homes. We've also met with an individual that manages multiple properties, and have assurances of cooperation and collaboration to cease business operations. So we are making significant strides, but it does take time and a lot of resources and a lot of documentation and resource witnesses, interviews, building a case file. It's labor intensive. So we're still moving forward with that. And so I just wanted to advise you that we do have a new code enforcement person at City Hall on Monday and Tuesday all day. Our Our other code enforcement officer we will be shifting her, her schedule to be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, to pick up a Friday consistently of code enforcement operations. And we also have a code enforcement technician that is out on Saturday mornings, removing illegal signage. And I'm also very happy to share that we had a young man, very enthusiastic, came into City Hall and wants to volunteer in code enforcement. And he has certification through Casio. So he'll be starting this weekend. And he'll be joining us about 20 hours a week as kind of like an intern in code enforcement. So we have a lot of resources that are coming in and new staff. So things are really, we're going to be firing on all cylinders, and things are looking up.
Could I,
Be happy to answer any questions.
the selection of Monday and Tuesday, was that done by the contracting agency or is that done by the city staff?
No, sir, that was done by me. Because Monday, one of the requirements of the contract provider was that the days are consecutive, because we do share this position with Elk Grove in Northern California. Just to set your mind at ease, we are not being billed for the travel expenses. So this person works in Elk Grove, and although Elk Grove was very cooperative and said, pick your days and we'll shift our schedule, they were fine. So I chose Monday, Tuesday because those are very busy days, coming off of a weekend. And the current code enforcement officer had been doing several days of investigation on Fridays due to our maternity home situation. So it was just a natural transition for her to take Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and him to take Monday, Tuesday with a one-day overlap. And then on top of it, we also have someone at City Hall doing admin and code enforcement that's also part of the city attorney's office. So they're working doing liens, code enforcement liens, and putting together case files for the city attorney. And so we have a lot of resources allocated in code enforcement at this time.
Are these based off of tips alone from the residents, or is it code enforcement going out proactively seeking these homes out?
As far as maternity homes,
Yes.
this is mostly initiated by complaints. I would like to stress that many of the complaints, several of the complaints that have come in are unfounded, because for lack of a better word, profiling, being of a certain ethnic background and being pregnant does not beget a maternity home. So there are several homes that we've gone to and we've investigated only to find out that it's not what people are claiming it to be. So it's all complaint driven. However, other components of code enforcement are not complaint driven. You may, drive down the street, and as you're going to go investigate another call, and they'll see a violation, and they will address it. And if they're on that street, then they typically proactively address all the issues on the street. So, but as far as a maternity home specifically, it is complaint driven.
And complaints for any code enforcement violation or concern are done through City Hall, or are we utilizing the eCitizen app?
There's a couple of different ways. They can call into the front counter at City Hall and file a complaint. They can email code enforcement to file their complaint. And they can use the eCitizen app to also file a complaint. But I would like to stress that the eCitizen app is not for anything related to police and fire. So that's an ongoing struggle we have. We have a lot of people submitting, e-citizen complaints at midnight for a loud party. That's not something. E-citizen is not monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, where we have people dispatching to address those complaints. It's for passive service requests. It's a customer service tool. But yes, they can use that app to report a code enforcement violation.
And the email address for code enforcement is found on the website?
Yes, sir.
That's all I have.
I will say, the e-citizen app does work very well. About a week ago, there was an odd car that pulled into our very quiet cul-de-sac, and it was there for about 5 days. I asked the neighbors, nobody knew who it was. We did use the e-citizen app. I did see follow-up forwarded to Sergeant Davis. The next day, the car was gone. So it is a very useful tool for our residents to use.
Yes, it is a wonderful tool. Citizens can submit a photo with the app. They can submit multiple photos. They can submit video footage. They can submit a voicemail memo. It drops a GPS pin right where you're located. So we really encourage folks to submit a photo with it when they do, particularly if it's something like graffiti or broken sprinkler, to really make sure they submit a photo, and the more detail, the better. Like shopping carts, for example, if you can tell us what store it belongs to or what color, what kind of shopping cart, it's helpful so that we can follow up with the different tenants throughout Eastville that have shopping carts and make sure they're doing their retrieval, because that's actually not something that we do. We work with the different grocers to make sure they're retrieving their carts. So the more detail, the better.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to section 6, do we have any public comment? No? Okay, moving on to section 7, city staff report.
Nothing at this time, sir.
Okay, thank you. Section 8, commission communications. Anyone?
Last month, we talked about adopting the previous elementary schools. Each commissioner had, and I had Clara Barton, I believe, from the previous year. I reached out, and Tricia and Leah, neither one of them called me back, so I don't think they have any public safety commission concerns at this time. But I will continue to reach out to them.
I reached out to Harada, got the same response, so.
I did physically stop in and knock on the doors versus the emails, having spoken with multiple schools prior, and that was the only concern, was those 2 intersections we discussed. Roosevelt, still the same thing with the linears in front of the Mustang Way entrance, trying to get those all the way up. And I haven't been down there lately, but they're still seeing a lot of illegal U-turns, and mostly the students now, more so than the parents, that seems to be a concern. And it's visibility of the deputies, they feel, when they realize they're not around is when the kids are being kids. So those are the only feedbacks I've had so far.
I'm in phone tag at the moment, but sure we'll succeed eventually.
Good?
I meet with Ronald Reagan once a week, so.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
I was with them when they got the notice of the crossing guard, so they're very happy.
I'd like
Excellent.
to make one comment. The Sheriff's Department, I saw the 18 vehicle burglaries, and I was really surprised that only 2 occurred at one of our busiest intersections. So I know you have things going on, so I just want to offer our support, and I look forward to some good news for the next meeting.
Thank you. Also, I would like to give my regards for the set team operations, having some good success with those mail theft rings.
Chair Hook, just one additional. About 2 weeks ago, we installed 3 wall-mounted cameras at 3 locations. One is actually at the shopping center there on Limonite and Eastville Gateway. And we have one at Scholar and Citrus at the high school area, and the other one is Archibald and Sliceman. We're still tweaking the process of the retrieving the informations and the power supply for the cameras to make sure that it's going to be working well and smooth. And we're working in conjunction and collaboration with the Sheriff Department and under the supervision of City Manager.
In regards to those cameras, does the, my concern again will come up, does the operator or the manufacturer provider have authorized access at any time, or do they need to contact City Hall before they can get into our camera system?
Under the contract we have with them, they have access, but they sign an agreement of confidentiality, because the reason they have access is for upgrades and updates of the softwares, and they do have that, and they're not going to use, there's an agreement that they're not going to use the information, the footage for demonstration or sharing with other cities when they sell that cameras to other jurisdictions, and they have that, and we are very confident that they're going to be able to keep that, because we spoke with a couple of departments. Atascadero is one of them. We talked to the police chief, and we spoke with someone, Sierra Madre right here, and they are very happy and very satisfied with the services of the company.
And do you have access or any sort of notifications when they access the system without, prior engagement from city staff? Is there any sort of alert saying there's somebody outside of City Hall that's accessing the system or outside of the authorized users?
Well,
so in other words, let's say Captain Horton, obviously Michelle and the mayor, well, just examples. Let's say all three of them had access to that. Would it notify you if somebody outside of those three people accessed the system?
Yes, we can establish that, and they would notify us as soon as there is unauthorized access. It's all your question, yeah.
Thank you.
If I may add to that, we are the ones that allocate access and create the administrative users. So there shouldn't be any unauthorized access, and you can run a report to see which users accessed at what time.
Okay, thank you very much.
And I'm sorry, I know I said I didn't have anything, but I wanted to remind the commission that there is a public safety forum on Thursday evening. However, I would like to point out that the weather says it's going to be pouring rain. So in that event, subject to rain, it may be canceled, but we won't be making that call until probably Wednesday night. So we're hoping for clear skies to continue with the event, but just keep in mind that weather permitting.
I had previously committed to attending that. I do have a wedding rehearsal dinner that evening and a wedding the next day, so I won't be able to make that with rain or shine that date.
Okay.
I think it's a win-win. We need the rain, we need the meeting, so.
And also on November 5th, the commission is invited to the residential cleanup. We're having our second annual residential cleanup from Waste Management. That's a free event that is open to Eastvale residents only. We are looking for volunteers. So if any of you want to come and assist that day, we'd love to have you.
What are the hours?
The hours of the event itself is 8 a.m. to noon. The volunteers would be more like 7 o'clock to probably 2, but you wouldn't have to work the whole hours. I mean, whatever, if you're interested in volunteering for any period of time, we'd love to have you. This does also include a paper shredding and e-waste. But the paper shredding has some limitations. You can't show up with a truckload of documents fresh to shred.
And the
We
location?
limited it to 4 banker boxes this time.
And the location, I'm sorry?
The location will be the same. It'll be Ramirez Intermediate School in the front parking lot. It was a huge success last time. In fact, Waste Management said they have never, ever, in their experience, seen such a turnout. We went through, I think we're at 15 of the big, huge what is that,
40 cubic yard
yeah,
bins.
40 cubic yard bins, 2 truckloads of shredding, 2 truckloads of e-waste. So I'm happy that that wasn't dumped in our city. And so we're going to continue making this effort to make sure that citizens understand that they have alternatives and to curtail any illegal dumping in our community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, moving on to section 9, future agenda items. Anybody have anything they wish to add? No? Okay. There's
If I-
nothing further?
If I may pose a question to the commission. One of the fantastic attributes of Miss Aaliyah Rodriguez is that she is CPR certified. She is an instructor. Does the commission have any desire to have CPR certification?
I would like that.
That is something that we can add to a future agenda if you wish to have a live training here. That's something I'd have to work out with Aaliyah. I know the commission has inquired about that in the past, about holding a public certification program through a grant. I believe Mr. Khan had inquired, I think, maybe a year ago about other training sessions we could provide with CERT funding. Unfortunately, if I recall, CPR certification isn't one of the things that our grants would pay for. But we happen to have an instructor here. So that is something that we could bring back to the commission at a later date.
Yes, please. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Second that motion. We'll call the meeting at 6:58 PM.